There's so much going on in Washington, D.C., the one big, beautiful bill. You've got people visiting from South Africa and the president playing videos of what's going wrong in South Africa. You've got the no tip, the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, Social Security. You're getting some sort of a tax break. I want to break all that down and then some with Dr. Rich McCormick. He, of course, a U.S. representative. Rich, I got this wrong last time. You're District 7 or 6?
7. Newly acquired.
You're 7.
7. It's the same as 6. It's just a different name.
Let's see. We have it right on the full screen, so that's good. So it's Georgia 6, great Congressman. It's Rich McCormick. I appreciate you coming back on. Let's talk about why that vote didn't happen at 1 o'clock in the morning. I thought it was going to be a 1 o'clock in the morning Wednesday vote, so it would have been early this morning, and that didn't happen. What's going on with the big, beautiful bill?
So there's holdouts on both sides. It was very interesting to have the president come visit us and talk to us in conference and actually make a really solid case why SALT shouldn't be the focus. And then I turn around and see that SALT's really in this bill in bigger ways than I thought it was going to be. Originally, I thought maybe we'd settle on 30,000 for SALT. Everybody's and it's funny. The president was hilarious. I've never heard a funnier speech in my life. 40 minutes into it, we were rolling. I mean, it was one of the funniest things he ever said. He's saying nobody knows what the hell SALT is. Why is this the focus? It's going to lose us elections, not gain us elections. They made the case why we shouldn't even be worried about SALT. SALT shouldn't change. Then I turn around and I see that SALT's not just 30,000, which would be 3 times what it was originally, but it's actually up over 40,000. I'm very confused by that. And then I turn around and realize that that's one side of our conference that's really focused on that. The people from California and New York that have really high state taxes. The other side of that is the Medicaid reform, getting people to work that should be working, not getting free Medicaid just because they don't work on purpose. Like they literally are not applying for jobs, not trying to work, not doing volunteer work, not doing anything. The same stuff you need to do to stay on unemployment is all we're requiring, and they won't even require that. They say it's going to 4 years to incorporate that. That's bullcrap. We know it doesn't take 4 months to incorporate that. When the government wants something to happen, it changes. So that's just an excuse. I know the president doesn't want to touch anything that's considered mandatory spending, but that's about 76% of the budget. So Medicaid reform is really important. I was looking at the overall analysis of what we're going to be doing in the 10-year plan. And by the way, 10-year plans don't matter. I keep on saying, stop talking about the 10-year plan because nothing past the next year or two is going to matter because you're going to have a new Congress. And in 4 years, when we see real savings, you're going to have a new president and 2 new Congresses. So stop talking about the 10-year plan. Tell me what's happening next year. Now, they say in 2025, we'd have about net savings of about $125 billion, which sounds great. The problem is the next year, 2026, our budget is projected to spend $435 billion more in deficit spending than we already do. And we're talking about trillions already. That's well over $3 trillion in deficit spending. And then it gets worse. I think it goes 415 billion, then 436 billion in 2000. It just gets worse and worse. Then it finally gets better right about the time you get a new president and and 2 new Congresses. It's a false promise. It's not a great bill, but maybe it's the best we're going to get. And that's what we're debating right now. Can we squeak some more out of this? Can we have some responsibility? And otherwise, this debt, we're in trouble because it's going to cost us a lot more in interest.
It's District 7 Republican, great state of Georgia, Rich McCormick. We appreciate you coming on. Let's talk about SALT a little bit more, state and local taxes. So they vote in a bunch of idiots in California and Illinois and New York and other states where the taxes are through the roof. And you get to deduct those state and local taxes on your federal. So in other words, I'm subsidizing from Texas, you're subsidizing from Georgia, people making bad decisions in elections in places that I just mentioned. Why exactly would we give them any abatement at all? See, here's the thing, Rich, and I'm kind of a dumb guy, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. If we don't give them any subsidy for SALT, if we don't give them any tax deduction for SALT at all, they're going to be forced to vote people in that won't tax them so high. Or they'll force people who are leading the states like Gavin Newsom and Kathy Hochul to lower state taxes because the residents in that state will leave otherwise. Why do we want to give them a break at all?
Yeah, and this is the problem. They ran on it. They ran on representing those people to give you a tax break. And now that we're in control, they're trying to deliver on those promises. The problem I always say about this in moderate districts, you'll never out-left the left. If you get 40,000, they're going to say, I'm going to get you 50,000. I'm going to get you 100% reduction. You'll never out-left the left. You'll never give away enough. As a matter of fact, if we gave the left everything that they want, free healthcare, free dental, free childcare, free this, free that, free cell phones, next year they would have to come back with more free stuff to buy more votes because that's the only way they stay in power. That's the honest truth. And then they pretend like they're fiscal hawks all of a sudden. It cracks me up when the Democrats talk about this isn't fiscally conservative. This isn't addressing the debt. It's the first time I've ever heard them talk about debt. I'm like,
Right.
whoa, what's happening? It's a dishonest argument. It's hilarious that they all of a sudden are the fiscal hawks. They're worse than we are. But our monitors have to learn. You're never going to outlet the left.
It's well, you're right, and also back to Medicaid that you mentioned a little bit earlier. It's Dr. Rich McCormick, District 7 Republican, great state of Georgia. Shouldn't we change the name? People get confused. Medicare, I'm paying in my paycheck, so I'll get it when I retire as my medical care. Medicaid is an entitlement. It's welfare. Medicaid is something that we're all paying for, and many of us will never use it. What's wrong with saying if you're able-bodied, you should go and do something, volunteer at the local park, go do something for the community, go and get a job where you're working at least 20 hours a week, or at least try to go get a job. Why would anybody say no to that when you're getting something for free on the backs of people like you and me who are working for it?
And oh, by the way, it polls very well. People who are working hard and not making much money, who may or may not be on Medicaid, don't want to hear that people are sitting home not even looking for a job that are getting the same benefits that they are. The American public doesn't want to hear that. They don't want that at all. That's a very unpopular item. And for us to think that we're going to win off of that election, that's crazy. And I'll tell you this too. Medicaid was never meant to be federally funded. The fact that now federally funded is 90% of some of these states' Medicaid, which is trying to force us into a single payer system,
Right.
is egregious. That's why we've gone through 1/3 of all government spending used to be through the federal system. Now it's 2/3 of all government spending is from the feds. That's never the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be state heavy, where you have better accountability, a smaller budget, a balanced budget. That's how it's supposed to be. But we continue to print off money and believe in this modern monetary theory, which is going to bring all of our existence to a screeching halt when it comes to an economy that we've lived off and benefited from since the Great Depression, when we broke out of that idea that the government was the answer to all of our problems.
The one big beautiful bill, and it's Dr. Rich McCormick, the one big beautiful bill is not done. As you said, there's still some arguing going on. What's going to happen? Let's do some predicting on this. And by the way, I'm with you. Shouldn't the lesser spending, the cuts in spending, shouldn't the work requirement for Medicaid, shouldn't whatever it is that we're trying to do, shouldn't it start now? Why would we ever wait 4 years when, like you said, there might be a different administration that would try to undo it all? And God forbid there's a different Congress that leans to the left would undo it all. Shouldn't this all start now? Why are we negotiating now for 4 years from now?
That's exactly right. It's a shell game. It's pretending, getting you to look one way and then doing the other thing. The fact is, you can have a golden era right now in the next 4 years. But the problem is, the next presidency, it doesn't matter if it's a Republican or Democrat. When Social Security goes bankrupt in about 7 years, when Medicare goes bankrupt in about 8 years, and when the budget crisis comes to a head and we can no longer get anybody to buy our debt, it doesn't matter who's in charge. It doesn't matter if it's Democrat or Republican. We didn't do our job today when we had control of our destiny, and that will ruin the United States as we know it. Our children will never have the opportunities we have. We'll be the way of Europe, where we're constantly switching parties, trying to figure out who's going to give me what I need to survive, rather than allowing us to flourish. And as Calvin Coolidge says, the business of America is business.
Yeah.
Focus on that. Deregulate, detax, allow the economy to explode so we're competing over the lower wage. You don't have to worry about a minimum wage. You don't have to worry about prosperity or taxation. That's what created the Roaring '20s. It was all this speculation and getting out of whack that created the crash of the market when the government actually got too much involved. We need to avoid that at all costs.
Rich, why did the Senate do unanimous consent on the no tax on tips? It's in the big, beautiful bill. Are you guys going to take it up? Should this be a singular bill that goes to President Trump? I know that he wants one giant, beautiful bill that he can sign and it's all done. Will you do it independently? Is that even going to be taken up in the House?
I don't like to contradict the president at all, but I'll tell you this. I don't believe that anybody should be specifically targeted when it comes to taxation.
Okay.
We all work equally hard. I think that med techs in the middle of the night, I'm an ER doc. And those poor people who get paid very little to stick you with a needle and stay up all night long deserve no taxes too. And teachers, no taxes. Right. Police, no taxes. Right. Military, no taxes. There's plenty of people who make the same amount as a person that works hard for tips. And it doesn't matter who that person is. They all want tax breaks too. Same thing with, it doesn't really matter who you're going to give those tax breaks to. But if you start messing with this, you say no tax on overtime. Guess how people are going to start working? They're going to start paying fewer people to work more, and they will have tax breaks on who they're paying, and
Right.
those people will make more money, but you'll employ fewer people and you'll get less taxation on that. It's an unintended consequence of messing with the tax system that's already way too complex. And I think we just have to be really careful about that. I love the president. He's an outside the box thinker,
Yeah.
but I don't know that I want to wrap up anything that's like that into our big, beautiful bill, because I want to have those things voted on individually so we can see how people actually feel.
The solution would be either a flat tax or a fair tax, or do something that everybody. You're right. I agree with you. I don't work
Yes.
for tips, so I'm not going to be getting a tax break. Hopefully, I'll get a tax break. With the new tax system coming out. I didn't like that there was talk about those in the high end maybe get a tax increase to pay for something over here. That whole shell game doesn't work for me either. So going in. You like the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 17, I would assume, that those rates are all going to continue in the big, beautiful bill, right? That's not going to change.
That's correct. And matter of fact, even if we had to turn to the Democrats, which is worst case scenario, that almost assuredly is going to pass, because they even realized during the Biden administration that had great benefits for the economy. It ended up being a net value for our revenue, because actually when you have more business, more jobs, more taxpayers, it actually results in more revenue. What we found historically is when we increase taxes, you get less revenue. It's once again, it's the Democrats signaling, pretending like they're on the right side of history by increasing taxes on the hardest working people. Now,
Right.
it's funny, it doesn't tax billionaires. Billionaires' money is already in the bank. When a billionaire says to you and he's campaigning, billionaires like you and me should pay our fair share, that is bullcrap. We know it. There's way more billionaires that give way more money to Democrats than the
Yes.
Republicans, knowing that they have loopholes, knowing their money's in the bank, knowing that they're going to stop people from becoming the next billionaire. And that's what this is all about, a built-in aristocracy that controls politicians.
It is Dr. Rich McCormick, of course, a Marine helicopter pilot, emergency room physician, U.S. representative of the great state of Georgia. Appreciate the time and the access. Just a quick note on this, if you don't mind giving me your opinion. Every single day when I turn the TV on, there is some high-level administration official in front of some Senate or House committee with some doofus trying to make his or her name, yelling at Robert F. Kennedy Jr., or giving Marco Rubio a hard time, or giving Kristi Noem a hard time. I want these people that have been selected and confirmed to go and do their jobs in the administration. I don't want them in front of some committee every day. Rich, what's the game here? Why do they keep doing this?
Well, so we actually have control of the committees. So it's up to us as the majority to decide
Yes.
who comes in front of us. But I will say this. Traditionally, there is access to the secretaries. And I think we get to control the narrative. I thought Rubio killed it, both in the Senate and the
I
House.
agree.
I thought he was brilliant. And it actually gives him the ability to showcase that the Democrats are on the wrong side of history. When you talk about U.S. aid, when you talk about the control of it, what we're doing, how we're having better accountability, I thought he came out shining. I thought the Democrats looked very partisan
Yes.
and petty. So I think it was okay. I think we have very sharp people who are able to control the narrative and actually defend themselves very well. And I think it's a good tradition to have, because we don't want them hiding from us when they're in power either, and that's going to happen over
I agree.
time. So I'm okay.
No, Rich, make sure that you understand me, though. I mean, I agree with you. There should be oversight. They should come in. They should give reports. They should give updates. They should answer questions that we can all see. It looks to me like people on those panels, like Chris Van Hollen looked like an idiot yesterday, who went down to El Salvador and literally had like a margarita with this guy, Abrego Garcia. There's no reason to have him sit there and question Marco Rubio on things he knows Rubio is allowed to do. And the reason why I say that is I think they're all trying to get sound bites for social media. I think they're all trying to make a new Democrat Party. It's like they're all vying for who's going to be the leader of the Democrat Party. Right now it's AOC, if you can believe it. And I don't want our administration to suffer for having been called. It seems like every other day I see Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in front of a committee. I don't get it. I want the guy to do the job. So I'm with you, but it becomes too much, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think there is a limit. I think the administration will probably back off on those. But you can just see President Trump is the most accessible president of all time.
Yes.
He's
true.
on every media. I mean, he stopped twice just going to conference, because he literally called it out when he's like, I get more unearned media and money off of these people just wanting to hear from me. He gets the mic. He's at the bully pulpit, and we get to make our case over and over again. I think the more we get in front of people, the more they go, these guys got a point. I actually think like they do, and it's up to us to message the correct way to actually win the day, because quite frankly, most people don't understand how dangerous the deficit is until we get in front of them and make our case.
Along with no tax on overtime, tips, and Social Security, the second most asked question of me when I'm on lives or on my show is, how does this prescription drug, price lowering actually work? Is it really going to be a 53 or 58% lower price because we're forcing most favored nation? How does this work? Are we going to see real price reductions in prescription drugs?
Prescription drugs is one of the most complex things, especially with PBMs involved. PBM reform was kind of half done in this bill. PBMs, I think, are largely at the root cause of why we have so much discretion in how much drug prices are actually charged. If I write you a prescription for Augmentin, and you've been trained to use your insurance to go down to the local pharmacy and fill that prescription, you do a copay, then the insurance charges or the pharmacy charges the insurance company another $70 on top of the copay, which is maybe $7. And then the insurance company ups it. Now you're getting close to $100 for that prescription that you could have probably paid out of pocket nearly what you paid for the copay.
Right.
That's how screwed up the system is,
Yeah.
and that's why we need to fix it. The fact that we pay insulin prices that are 10 times higher in Canada, which is a safe nation to buy from, and it's a chemically identical insulin, is egregious, because we don't do that with everything. We just do it with certain things we choose to based on the lobbyists. We have a lot to fix on this. It's much more complex than most people realize. And we have to be careful how we write the legislation, because there'll be unintended consequences, mark my words, on the way we do things. If we like, say, for example, price picks. You're not going to make your money off of the money that you actually spent money developing a drug, and the laws allow you to do that for a certain amount of time before it becomes generic. And if we start price fixing those things, they'll no longer do that anymore. They will lose their incentive to actually go out there and create great drugs for us in the future. So we have to be consistent with our laws and their application, so we don't dismantle the way things are. But at the same time, there's a ton of things we can save money on. I hope the president's smart, has great advisors on that. He can always call me.
What would you do? A PBM is a pharmacy benefit manager. What would you do with that? How would you change that?
Oh my gosh, get rid of them first. I mean, I know
Really?
I'm talking about some very powerful people, but their original intent was good, but they've gone way outside the box. They've actually hamstrung businesses. They've made it anti-competitive. They strong arm people, and they give these quote unquote coupons. The coupons never benefit the people they were supposed to. By and large, they benefit a small population, so they can say, look what we're doing. Well, with the other hand, they make it expensive for everybody else.
Right.
They just don't end up doing even-handed competition. It's very much based on favoritism. It really hamstrings the small businesses, the small producers. And really, the pharmaceutical companies are vertically integrated with these PBMs, and it really makes the healthcare industry really hard to navigate and to save money in.
It's Representative Rich McCormick, Representative District 7 Republican, great state of Georgia. Last question. What is this H.R. 1486? This is if somebody somehow gives away our trade secrets or commits espionage when it comes to trade, we can put sanctions on the country. Fill me in on this.
Yeah, so this is the Espionage Act that I wrote, and I'm really excited about this. Actually, so many times we provide these loopholes for people to pass through chip technologies and chips to countries like Russia that use it in their missiles, use it in their drones, use it in their weapon systems, their defense systems against countries we're trying to help. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that China and Russia don't get a hold of our best chips through pass-throughs, through more friendly nations. We want to make sure that we're barring them from using our chips adversarially, or that it's passed through to adversarial nations. And I think it's something that we actually finally added some teeth to, so that it won't be done in the future, at least not without consequence.
Before I let you go, is this thing going to get voted on Friday or not? The big, beautiful bill?
I was hoping to get voted on today.
I know.
I hope it's voted on tomorrow. My oldest son just got engaged, and
wow, congratulations.
Thank you. But I'm not going to make it if this thing doesn't pass by Friday. So we'll see. I'm hoping and praying it does. I don't think anybody wants to stay here the weekend. But you know what? This is serious work, and it requires serious people who are willing to put in the time. And I'm willing to do that because I think this is more important to my son and his future than his party even.
Well, listen, I agree with you. And again, congratulations on that. It's U.S. Representative, District 7 Republican, great state of Georgia, Rich McCormick. Rich, thanks a million. Appreciate you.
Always a pleasure, Joe. Semper Fi.
All right, brother. Semper Fi. We're back after this. Stay right here.